Gravity Falls was a Disney show with all sorts of twists and turns along the way, with weird plot shenanigans and a cast of lovable yet eccentric characters. It's no wonder the cartoon developed such a huge fan base that continues to grow even 3 years after its final episode. But as weird as the show itself is, what if we were able to tell you that there are some theories that, if true, would make it even weirder?
Last bus leaving Gravity Falls. All aboard.
I'm Teresa Appel with Wicked Binge, and these are Gravity Falls theories that will weird you out. Let's get started.
Hey, sister. Guess who gets to vote in the future?
Sue's dad never wrote any of those postcards. Sue's dad never actually appears in any episode of Gravity Falls. In fact, he's not even given a name aside from Mr. Ramirez. All we know of the guy is that Suze hasn't seen him since he was 4. And so he sends him a postcard every year on his birthday.
It's for my dad, actually. I haven't seen him in like 8 years.
These postcards say that he's sorry he couldn't make it this year for his birthday, but he'll be sure to see him next year, a promise he never lives up to. This is pretty rough for poor Suze. He clearly misses out on having a father figure in his life. This is obvious from him latching on to the imaginary figure Ernesto in Mabel land as a surrogate ideal father, since he doesn't even remember what his dad looks like anymore.
You don't remember what I look like, so I have the body of a pro wrestler.
However, what's even rougher to think about is how it's possible Sue's dad never even wrote the postcards. It's entirely possible that, in actuality, Sue's abuelita writes the postcards.
I vacuumed the walls now.
Each year, Suze invites his father to his birthday party in the hopes that this will be the year he'll show up. But every year, his abuelita knows that he won't, and that Suze will be disappointed. So she secretly has been writing these postcards and having them delivered to Suze when it becomes clear that his father isn't going to show up again to ease some of his disappointment. It's a depressing theory on the surface, but it's also nice to think that Suze at least has his abuelita who cares for him. Still, this one definitely tugs at your heartstrings.
This is not good. I cannot feed such a big family.
Mabel has a doppelganger named Liebem. She has appeared in several episodes in Mabel's place. Mabel and her quirky antics are the highlight of Gravity Falls. But what if who we see isn't always Mabel? There's a theory floating around that Mabel actually has a doppelganger named Liebem, and she's actually appeared in several episodes.
This carpet is amazing!
The theory suggests that Gideon, around the time he asked Mabel to visit for a makeover, used a spell from Book 2 to make a doppelganger of her as a fallback girlfriend.
Enchanting. Utterly enchanting.
Taking a sample of her hair and her llama hair sweater, he creates Liebem, who he then parades around town and has photographed for the newspaper. Eventually, Liebem comes to Mabel, who agrees to hide her. They share clothes and frequently swap places so Liebem can live some semblance of a normal life. If this theory sounds incredibly far-fetched to you, just consider these clues found by The Squoo on YouTube that seem to point to the theory having some truth in it. For one, in the episode The Inconveniencing, Mabel is shown to be writing with her right hand. This wouldn't be suspicious, only she's also clearly shown writing with her left hand in the episode's Boss Mabel. The simple explanation for this would be that she's actually ambidextrous, or it's an animation error. But what if there's something more to it? Another piece of evidence that points to something fishy going on is in Fight Fighters. Mabel is shown to have acrophobia or fear of heights. But in Little Dipper, when she's flying in Escape from Gideon's house, she shows no fear. Did she simply get over her phobia in such a short space of time, or is something foul at play? There have certainly been weirder things in the show than a little switcheroo from time to time. The real reason behind Grunkle Stan's greed. This theory is an old one, originally posed by Davintex on Reddit. It states that the real reason Grunkle Stan is so greedy and obsessed with money is because he's actually trying to buy as much gold as he can.
My one and only dream. which was to possess money, has come true.
There's a few quotes to support the importance of gold in the series, such as Bill Cipher saying, "Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold, buy."
Name's Bill Cipher.
In a conversation with Robbie, Grunkle Stan himself also asks, "You've been buying gold, right?" with interest. Dipper also finds magazines titled "Gold Chains for Old Men" with Grunkle Stan stuff. So what's with the obsession with gold? It's possible that gold fuels the portal in the bunker, but that doesn't fully explain why he mentions it to Robbie. Instead, it sounds like buying gold is a suggestion or possibly a need for something that may happen in the future. Gravity Falls is known for commonly making fun of survivalists and conspiracy theorists, something that Alex Hirsch, its creator, has an obvious interest in if we take his new upcoming series for Netflix about conspiracy theories into consideration. It's possible this is another gag at the kind of survivalists who believe gold will remain valuable after society collapses and currency is rendered worthless, and therefore stockpile it for the future. Could Grunkle Stan be one of these people?
Talking meat for the apocalypse, doodle-doo, we're all gonna die.
And why would Bill Cipher mention it? It sounds like a weird thing for him to come out with. However, it's entirely possible he just has a knack for hunting out these survivalist types, and maybe gets a kick out of making fun of them or leading them on. It definitely sounds like the kind of wacky antics he'd be up to. This theory is a little older, and since its original conception, it was revealed that Grunkle Stan is greedy because he was kicked out of his house by his father until he became rich. However, that doesn't necessarily disprove this theory about him collecting gold either. Still worth thinking about. Stan actually married Carla McCorkle. Carla McCorkle, sometimes known as Hot Pants, is Grunkle Stan's former girlfriend. According to Stan, she dumped him in favor of a hippie called Thistledown, and that was the end of it. But what if there's more to this story than just a short love affair? This theory goes that they didn't simply have a relationship. They were actually married, and the story about her being hypnotized by Thistle was only a partial truth, or an outright lie. Though Grunkle Stan claims he's only ever been divorced once to Marilyn, whom he was married to for only 6 hours. This could still be true.
Truth is, I've been divorced once and slapped more times than I can remember.
After all, he faked his own death by driving his car off a cliff before assuming his brother's identity. Since he was legally dead, he didn't divorce Carla, he just widowed her. This explains how he could possibly have a child who shares his last name. Did he marry Carla and then abandon her with a child? And is that why he feels guilty enough to make a whole fake story up about it?
I don't even know who you are!
Also, something rather depressing to consider, Carla McCorkle returned all his flowers could be a reference to her lying flowers on the grave Grunkle Stan was never in. That's actually really dark. Gravity Falls attracts weirdness in part because of a hallucinogenic environment. If you've listened this far, it's safe to say you realize that Gravity Falls is a very weird show, and these theories just make it even weirder.
I hope someone didn't die.
Yes, that would be awful.
But this theory might have the explanation behind all of the eccentric things going on in the show. Captain Kid, an adult on Reddit, suggests in this theory that the real reason Gravity Falls is so weird is rooted in the fact that it exists in a hallucinogenic environment. And when they say rooted, they really mean rooted. Specifically, they're talking about mycelium can have to a fully functioning root system. Its job is to stretch out and get nutrients for the fungus. Now, you might be wondering what this has to do with Gravity Falls. Well, ask anyone who's been to Northern Oregon, where the show is set, and they'll tell you that the damp, heaving forested environment is a perfect breeding ground for mushrooms. If you watch very closely, you'll see the show has a number of red-spotted mushrooms in each episode. Though these may simply look like your average cartoon mushroom, there's more to it than that. they're Amanita muscaria, commonly known as fly agaric. These mushrooms have psychedelic properties that can cause a sense of spiritual and supernatural occurrence if you take them. Hence their common use in cartoons to represent gnomes, fairies, and other supernatural creatures.
Is this weird? Is this too weird? You need to sit down.
Now, the show has a fair number of gnomes and supernatural creatures itself. Therefore, it is possible the entire town is built on some cluster of these mushrooms. After all, these giant clusters of mushrooms aren't uncommon in Oregon. The largest is a 2-mile stretch of honey fungus in the Blue Mountains. If so, it's entirely possible that the citizens and native inhabitants of the area have been microdosing on these hallucinogens for their entire lives. Dipper and Mabel, who only arrive as guests, are likely highly susceptible anyway, seeing as they're children. This could definitely lead to the townsfolk vividly supernatural and just plain weird experiences that would explain a lot of the plot shenanigans in the show. Does this make the weird happenings of Gravity Falls less real? Not necessarily. It's still entirely possible that Bill Cipher can only infiltrate the minds of the people in Gravity Falls because their brains are already weakened by the prolonged use of hallucinogens too. Now, that's creepy.
I'd fire all of you if I could.
But what do you think? Do any of these crazy theories about Gravity Falls make sense? Do you have any theories of your own? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But most importantly, stay wicked.